Hi, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Rick Branham. I'm SirsiDynix's Vice President of our Content Solutions team. And our first speaker today is going to be Maryska Connolly, and she is our Director of Partnerships and Communications. And then we're thrilled to have a guest speaker with us, Dr. Raymond Uzwyshyn. I wasn't looking at it. It's too small in here for me to see. Thank you, Ray. But you see how it's spelled, right? Thank you, Ray. And Ray's going to finish us off today with their experience at Mississippi State University with CloudSource Plus. So, Maryska, we'll go ahead and hand it off to you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. All right, let's start with talking about what is CloudSource. CloudSource is a new service from SirsiDynix. It's the only complete discovery platform that aggregates and fully exposes the global body of open access and open educational resources available. Libraries can leverage their OA content with CloudSource. The current OA collection represents all globally known open access articles, plus eBooks, textbooks, and open educational resources, or OER. CloudSource enables libraries to change the way that they manage their electronic resources. Libraries can boost access and save money by promoting OA resources first and then supplementing with paid versions of items as needed. The idea is to provide the bulk of your collection from very high quality open access content and then strategically subscribe to other resources as you need to. CloudSource eliminates barriers and improves the user experience. With mostly OA content, user access is unrestricted. So you're talking one click, no authentication, no login required. The other benefit to this is you can expand the access that you can provide your community, because not needing to work with proxy servers and set up logins means you can serve your guest users, you can serve your alumni, you can serve your community members. And it provides, honestly, just more content. Users will have access to the global aggregation of peer-reviewed text, articles, and eBooks, which means you don't just have the limited number of resources that you subscribe to. And libraries can save money on subscription databases and third-party discovery tools with CloudSource. The biggest part of the CloudSource collection is our index of open access scholarly research material, and we're aggregating that from anywhere and everywhere. And with CloudSource Plus, you can add your closed license content to the same discovery experience. CloudSource features a whole suite of smart tools that aggregate metadata and enrich these thin records to make for better discovery. For your end users, they can access CloudSource on their desktop, on their mobile tablets, and on their phones and mobile devices, and offers several different mobile themes right out of the box. Your staff users can access your usage statistics in standard counter format. They've got collection management tools, and if you're a CloudSource Plus library, you can also curate and manage your subscription holdings within the same platform. Let's look at open access by the numbers. There's a lot of it. We've got about 60 million open access scholarly articles right now. 3.4 million open access articles were published just in 2022, which is about 60% of all articles published that year. But only about 16% of them come from the DOAJ, or the Directory of Open Access Journals. So that covers your fully open diamond and gold journals. So what ends up happening is people often at libraries will turn on DOAJ within your discovery layer or your provider and think you've got open access covered, but what you're missing out on is all the hybrid content, which is about another 84%. We'll talk about that in a moment. Ooh, let me go back, actually. This graph here on the right shows that by 2040, we can anticipate about 100% of peer-reviewed articles being published with OA licensing. And that's really driven by funding. So grant funders say that if you want to use our grant funding to do research, you have to make the resulting scholarly output open. So places like the NIH and most federal government agencies, the European Commission has similar requirements, and a lot of private organizations such as the Gates Foundation and the Wellcome Trust also require that their authors publish OA. So the past decade has actually seen a tremendous jump from about 70% of all scholarly output being behind a paywall and closed to about 54% being open globally. And last year in August, the White House Office of Science and Technology updated a memo that had previously required that government-funded research be open to also include data sets and to take away that 1 year, 12-month embargo. Right. So let's talk a little bit about the hybrid journals. I mentioned that the vast majority of open content is not in DOAJ. That's about 16%. The rest are in hybrid journals. So we're looking at about 84% if you just have DOAJ turned on. Well, hybrid journals are from the top publishers who work strategically with well-funded authors who are all working under the provision to publish OA because, of course, the folks who are getting grant-funded research are doing the most interesting and cutting-edge research out there. Who are the grant funders? We're looking at universities, research centers, places like the Gates Foundation, the Wellcome Trust, government agencies. At last count, there was about 300 agencies worldwide that require OA publishing. And of course, the hybrid journals are doing just fine. They're, for the most part, still charging you for subscription services. And within those subscription services, if you subscribe to it, sure, you get the open access content, but they're also charging authors very often article processing charges on top of the fees they're charging you to subscribe to it and get access to that open access content. And what we see when we look at the top journals, these are showing percentages of OA published in 2017, that these top ranking journals are anywhere from 50 to sometimes 90 or 100% open. We see this discipline by discipline. This is not just the sciences. This is not just STEM. The higher the ranking the journal, the more likely it is to have grant-funded research published in it and therefore have a lot of percentage of open access content. So 100,000 journals publishing OA content right now, plus, should I say. And the largest publishers of open access content are not fly-by-night publishers. These are the big ones that we all recognize in the scholarly world. They've historically published the bulk of scholarly articles, and they haven't lowered their editorial standards for open access content. In fact, these publishers are always going to want to publish the best authors with the most interesting research who are getting funded. Most of them are not pure OA journals. They're what we call hybrid journals. So they've essentially made room within their issues for the OA content, right next to your paywalled articles. So if you're subscribing to these, you get access. If you're not, they're very difficult to find. So that's 84%, just to remind you, of open access in these hybrid journals. CloudSource OA includes all of that content, the purely open journals, your gold and your diamond journals from DOAJ, as well as all of this hard-to-find hybrid journal content. Let's take a look at, this is a very popular multidisciplinary database that if I said the name, you'd know it, trust me. When you subscribe to many of these databases, you'll hear from your vendor, oh, it's got 10% open access content in it. But what they're usually talking about in the databases is the purely OA journals. That's not usually taking into account the amount of OA that's available within the hybrid journals. So in this particular database, we did an article by article comparison and found that 70% of the content in here was open. And this translates across not just the STEMs, not just the social sciences, but across most disciplines. This is a few more samples of actual databases that we did this overlap analysis. And you can see that 50%, and sometimes as high as almost 100% are open. And these are things people are subscribing to, and most of the content would be freely available. I do want to point out that this is not trade journals. This is not popular magazines. These are all academic sources.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm sorry, it's unusual, but since we have the slide here, would those databases you're referring to, that's just a generic placeholder that points to a little database?
Yes, that is correct. These are actually modeled, these are analysis done from actual databases.
Thank you, I just needed to know.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sorry,
It's an important distinction. So within the CloudSource OA collection, alongside our growing content offerings, which is 60 million articles, 100,000 journals, 80,000 eBooks and e-textbooks, another 36,000 in OER. You'll also find that we cover 123 million fields of study, 53 million subjects, 22 million mesh headings, and 2.2 million keywords. And the reason I'm pointing this out because this all allows us to have a robust series of access points and makes the search tools very useful for your end users to find this content. Right. So I do want to share a little bit about who our current customers are because you might wonder what types of libraries might want to use these types of services. So as a side note, I did include our CloudSource Plus customers in here. They're currently in pilot, but CloudSource Plus allows you to have the open access body of content and also pull in your subscription services as well to make for one combined discovery layer. So our academic customers should come as no surprise. We currently have 64 institutions, some quite large. I'm sure you'll recognize some names here. In fact, MSU is right here with us. Our public libraries and library systems make up another 248 customers, many of which are part of consortium. Our K through 12 academics have also found that CloudSource OA can be a really useful resource for our younger researchers, especially with the collection management tools we provide, so you can build collections that are suitable for a variety of patrons. And we also have 12 special libraries. You may have noticed that there's an orange star on some of these. They denote customers who do not use our ILS product, because of course CloudSource is from SirsiDynix, and you probably know us by that particular product. So they are using standalone versions of CloudSource OA at this point. And then we also have our CloudSource Plus pilot sites, and they include public, specials, academics. We have 28 institutions and 100 libraries. Several of these are actually switching to CloudSource Plus as their primary discovery layer for their academic content. Now, I know you're all librarians. I don't expect you to make any decisions based on anecdotal information. We like facts. So SirsiDynix offers a free collection analysis to uncover how much of your collection is indexed in our OA index, which you get to decide what to do with that information. There's no obligation. So there's no cost or obligation to the collection analysis. You simply provide us with a title list of your databases, packages, or e-journals with the title and ISBN. We'll compare those holdings against what's available in our OA collection, and then we'll send you a detailed summary by database, journal title, and subject. In addition to that, and here's one of the great advantages here, we'll also tell you what additional content that you would get that you don't currently subscribe to, but you would also get with CloudSource OA. So after we've completed this analysis, we'll send you a full executive report. So in this executive summary, you've got an overlap analysis, expanded coverage you'll be getting with CloudSource OA, as I mentioned, database overlap breakdown, the methodology, we'll go into that. We will give you information about OER, feedback, information about CloudSource Plus, course lists, and CloudSource OA benefits, ending with a summary and recommendations. So one of the nice things about this is it's a really clean, polished report that you could share with stakeholders if you want to give them something to understand what you're looking at and what the benefits might be to your institution. But while stakeholders might not want to get in the weeds, we librarians like to. So along with that, you will also get a detailed breakdown of your packages and journals. So this report starts with the package analysis that breaks down the number of OA articles and the percentage of OA articles in your journal packages. And we'll also note any subscriptions that provide indexing only, any packages that are unavailable and why they may not be, the overlap by journal title if you provide us with the journal title list, and we'll distinguish between historical OA content and the more recent stuff. So 2017 and newer, we're going to let you know how much in there belongs to the more recent publications. We'll also include the expanded coverage I mentioned and share any inactive journals that we identify that currently aren't publishing, list any non-OA journals, and finally, anything not indexed in CloudSource OA. So this one that you were just watching here is an actual collection analysis we prepared from one of our customers. So whether you discover a lot of OA overlap or minimal, the information prepared here will help you make your collection development decisions a little easier and more strategic. And with shrinking library budgets, it's really helpful sometimes to know what you're paying for. Anyway, I'll turn this over to Rick, my colleague here, who will show you around CloudSource.
Thank you, Maryska.
You're so welcome.
Okay, so just run through a quick demo of CloudSource OA. So again, we're focused on the OA collection. CloudSource Plus, like I said, adds your licensed content. And we're going to look at just some sample searches and pull up some records and see the various access points and widgets like for building a citation and other tools I'll walk through here in a moment. So you can search by any field or you can search for particular fields. I just did a search on artificial intelligence. I know it's kind of hard to see. We're going to narrow down to materials or to journal formats. You see we can also limit by the publication date. And I'm actually going to search within. So I searched for hallucination. You know, that's a tendency of AI to kind of make stuff up. So we want to see some articles there. So I found one that I want to look at a little further. I'm pointing to the status bar so you can see the resource statistics, which quickly point out the format, the OA status, the exact CC license, the peer-reviewed status, et cetera, number of citations cited by. So various widgets will take you to things like the publisher site, the ability to grab a permalink if you want to bookmark or share this item. You can also select the citation tool that's built in, and that lets you choose from more than 2,500 citation styles. And you can annotate the citation, you can link to style guides, you can actually change the styling of that citation before you save it to your document. Or you can export it as a RIS format if you want to drop it into RefWorks or Mendeley or what have you. So all those tools are available with the citation widget. So we're going to close that. Make my screen bigger here. My eyes aren't what they used to be. I'm like, what am I typing there? Here is the link to browsing. So if you use browsing, then of course you can browse an issue, articles in that issue or back issues, etc. So I'm clicking on the detail of a particular article, and that gives you a lot of this illustrates a lot of the enhancement or enrichment we're doing to that, what starts as very thin metadata. So writing things like author notes and abstracts and locations for the article and things like references. And now what I did was click on a widget that opened up all the references in a separate tab. You can also go to the publisher site or directly to the article from that screen. And here I looked at one of the Buzz are web reviews and mentions, and they come from dozens of sources. So again, just a little more information to help you vet whether you want to include this in your research. So we can also look at various ways of displaying the results. I'm going to close this. So we have the ability of toggling between a thumbnail view or a list view. And then we also can access the widgets even in that compacted view of the results. And then you can select all or individual results and do several batch actions in terms of emailing or printing the results or actually creating your citations on multiple results at once. So all that's fully supported. And then I'm going to flick through, try to make up some time here. I want to leave Ray plenty of time to talk about their experience. So we also support full power searching in terms of support for Boolean operators and nesting and phrase searching. And we're just putting the final touches on a new query builder. So it gives you a tool that lets you construct a query, you know, for novice users that may not understand Boolean constructs, things like that. So we also have added to our index not only articles from peer-reviewed sources, but open eBooks. We are partners with OAPN and DOAB. We just recently added an open collection from MIT Press. We have open textbook library. That includes OpenStax textbooks as well. OER Commons is one of our partners, ISKME is, and we have a feed that we regularly update our index with those learning resources. So the index, again, it's a lot more than just article content, and we're constantly looking at vetted sources for expanding the OER resources. So this is a look at an ebook. I'd searched for social media teenagers. And then I'll skip through this quickly, but we also have some facets for you to narrow your results to different OER categories. So you can narrow down to the OER resource type, the target audience, and also the level. The particular level of the user in terms of college or K-12 and et cetera. So let me skip ahead. Everything we do in CloudSource is rendered on a mobile theme that's responsive to your device, whether you're using a smartphone or a tablet, regardless of the orientation. It's going to be displayed nicely in a mobile theme. So every single feature is available in the mobile CSS, and everything is accessible and tested using VPATs and or WCAG compliant. Forget the latest version, but we can give you details on that. Okay, so now I'm sure y'all want to hear from Dr. Uzwyshyn. I know, but I like trying to practice your name. So, Ray, why don't you come up, and Ray's going to talk about their experience at MSU adopting CloudSource Plus and what led to that decision.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I am going to be speaking about CloudSource Plus, new paradigm models and analytic methods that we used at Mississippi State in terms of larger decisions that we were taking in terms of the budget. So just let me, can I duplicate these?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ray. That's what I was trying to do on the fly here, and I did not. There we go. How's that?
Oh, that's better.
Okay.
So, let's see. Okay. So maybe I'll look at it this way.
Okay.
actually. So we're using MSU's budget, this new technology, as part of the MSU's budgetary collection strategy. We're using very new technology in terms of CloudSource Plus and Article Galaxy Scholar, and a synthetic analysis that we're carrying out in terms of our strategy for high quality, open access, academic e-resources and technology. And really what we're trying to do is leverage our current holdings towards larger budgetary savings. That's really a major component of this in terms of using the OA access content. Now, this opens new access possibilities for us and also a new set of methodologies that we're working with. In terms of actually analyzing and purchasing our e-resources, this is also very important. So our e-resources material strategy, and I'll try to see it from here if I can, and allows, what we're doing is a three-pronged synthetic evaluation strategy. And this allows us to make better informed budgetary decisions. These are data informed, not data driven. And we're using a combination of qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis, and overlap analysis that Maryska mentioned already. And I'll go into deeper in terms of how this works in terms of budget savings for Mississippi State University. So this is really a cost-benefit strategy, if you can think about it that way. CloudSource Plus aggregates this great open access content from very high quality publishers, and this includes everything from Elsevier to Oxford to Wiley to Cambridge to, as Rick mentioned, MIT Press. And then Article Galaxy Scholar, this is the other piece of software that has not been overly mentioned yet, allows a more purchased focus of journals and articles not available in our present collections or open access. So it's a two-pronged strategy in that way. Now, in terms of the analysis we're doing to look at our present holdings and look at them very seriously in terms of open access. As I mentioned, we're using a combination of qualitative, quantitative, and overlap analysis. And for the qualitative analysis, we use a combination of emails, survey forms, focus groups, and individual and group meetings. You can see an example here of the email that we send to the faculty members or the different stakeholders. The libraries, here's the example. The library is currently engaged in a comprehensive evaluation of our electronic resource subscriptions to make data-informed decisions. In this regard, we would be grateful if you could provide feedback. This actually begins to give our faculty members or other stakeholders, the deans and the graduate students, say in terms of this process and our evaluation methods. So here's a slide with regards to the stakeholders, the graduate students, the faculty, and the department heads. And you can see here one of the survey forms that we send to the faculty members in terms of evaluating the databases, giving them a chance in terms of having their voice heard in this qualitative analysis. Here's another example from the qualitative analysis, and I've got two examples here from faculty in terms of their comments, pro and against a certain database. And I can see here, one of the faculty members says, I use this database very regularly. The second comment below says, I have not used this resource in a while. Therefore, I will not strongly recommend retention. So some of them are even taking on those retention decisions upon themselves. Here's the quantitative analysis part of this. A lot of you are familiar with a lot of these metrics that we add to the equation. As I mentioned, this is a three-pronged strategy that we're trying to actually do this synthetically. So this uses downloads, searches, unique site visits, unique site visitors, and cost per use. I wish I was younger so I could see the slides here, but the slides are a little small for me. So the third piece here is this great actually resource that Maryska mentioned briefly, and that's the overlap analysis. This is a really key part of this puzzle. And what it provides is this open access collection analysis report. And this is really a great resource in terms of the previous more traditional quantitative, qualitative analysis. This takes our database holdings, measures them against CloudSource Plus open access, and conducts an overlap analysis. And for the databases that we selected to evaluate February to May of this year, you could see there was between a 19 to 79% overlap. You can imagine if you actually have a 79% overlap in the database, what you're really paying for only 20% of paid material. The other 80% is open access. So this CloudSource plus an overlap analysis and metrics comes in various views. This is another view of that previous slide that I showed. And again, it shows the various percentages of overlaps of certain databases against the MSU databases that we own and reviewed between February and May. And again, it shows this wide range of database overlap. I found it fascinating, actually, that the average percent of coverage is 50%. So 50% of these articles exist as open access, as Maryska was saying. And that can be seen on a micrological level or on the macro level of what's happening. So our sample actually reflects what's happening on bigger levels in terms of the larger equation of the trajectory of open access going upward. So as I mentioned, there's 3 forms of these analysis that we do, and we put all of these together. And so this is the sweet spot in terms of the analysis. It's the quantitative, the qualitative, and the overlap analysis working together to provide data-informed decision-making. It's really great in terms of actually being able to give you better metrics with the combination of those types of methodologies I outlined. I'm giving an example of how this works to drill down a little bit more. I'm not going into the entire complexity here, but just to give you an idea of how all of these variables work together. So in terms of the qualitative analysis, looking at database number 1 on the chart, the faculty, as I was mentioning, some might say not needed. This database is not needed. The quantitative analysis might say low usage, not being used. The overlap analysis might say greater than 60% overlap. Well, already you're seeing the trend here. The cost is high. Well, it's an easy recommendation to make that's not going to be a lot of problems for yourself on the librarian end to drop the database. Here's another example that I'll give you that you don't really want to consider the dropping. The qualitative analysis is the faculty saying, yes, we need it. The quantitative analysis is showing high usage. The overlap analysis, and again, every database is at a different category, is showing low overlap. And then the cost is also relatively low to your budget. So this would be one that you would want to keep. Now I'm pointing these out because these are very easy decisions to make. If you're purchasing something like Mississippi State or Texas State, where you've got some universities have over 600 databases that they're purchasing, this becomes very helpful as a methodology to use. Now, this third bucket of databases where things become more complex is where the decision-making becomes data-informed. And that's where the qualitative analysis is split or mixed between the faculty saying yes or no, half or want it, half don't. It's not really clear. In terms of the quantitative analysis, it also may be split. It might not be, the usage might be high still, and then it becomes a more complex conversation. The overlap analysis also may show high overlap or low overlap or mixed. Now, this is where the librarian and the human perspective becomes very, very important in terms of these kind of decisions and where further discussion becomes needed. But you've already got all of these great metrics to actually have those discussions together more fully. So just to make a few conclusions about what I've spoken about and how we're using this. This combination of software allows us to make better e-resources budget decisions, and that's very important at my level in terms of the associate dean. It's all about the budgets and how much you have for the materials budget, and also digital resource allocation, making smarter resource decisions in terms of what you're purchasing. Again, this is achieved for us through these synthetic methodologies, a cost-benefit analysis that I've outlined, data-informed rather than data decision-driven decision-making. So it's all about that conversation and the affordances of these new technologies. So to make a couple final conclusions here for my part, cost savings for the library budget can be achieved through new possibilities of leveraging open access and document delivery savings from CloudSource Plus. Open access savings can fund new focused, intentionally aligned possibilities through Article Galaxy Scholar, that second piece. And the evaluation of this project for us has been quite successful in these last 6 months in terms of large monetary savings, and the evaluation to be able to buy more focused resources of things that we need. We are an engineering and agricultural university, and so those resources are also quite important, but we don't want to shortchange the rest of the university. So we've had a number of successes in this last, actually, I think it's been since January that we started our adoption of everything. And the evaluation of this project for us is continuing through the 23 and 2024 fiscal years. And right now, I'll finish my part and turn it back to Rick again.
Thank you.